Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. Treasure, and I was blessed to take a trip to Senegal. Once all is said and done, it's about 14 hours of travel. I left St. Louis, went to Atlanta, from Atlanta to New York, and then from New York to Senegal in West Africa, 9 hours. Wow, I was glad to touch down. I can't believe I actually made it to Senegal. Whew. After a shower, I was refreshed, enjoying the lovely hotel in Dakar called the Axel Hotel, and then we headed to our first venue, the Artist Danu, a wonderful co-working space in Dakar. And there is our colleague Yul talking about artificial intelligence.
Creating a more sensitive response to artificial intelligence so that it's just not a much previous, right?
Hey everybody. I'm live, all the way live from the motherland and the fatherland. I finally made it to West Africa, my good cousins, my good global cousins. I finally made it to West Africa. I have been back in 2013. I went to South Africa and spent some significant time there. Back in 2022, I went to East Africa. Who's joining me? Radical Lavender. Hey, comrade. Back in 2022, I believe I went to East Africa, Tanzania. It was fantastic. I had not yet been to West and Central Africa, which is, as you know, where lots of African Americans find our lineage. And so I finally made it to West Africa. Y'all, I am in Dakar, a city in Senegal, which contains the westernmost tip of the continent. So I am on the ground of the ancestors. And it's been a really transformative time. Queen! It's been a really transformative time. Why am I here, you may ask? Well, I am here because there is an Afrofuturism conference. So Afrofuturism is a theoretical position, a literary, art, and forecasting movement. Started in the 1990s. One of its kind of foundational people is Cherie Renee Thomas, who compiled an anthology called Dark Matter, which pulled together all kinds of speculative fiction, and really kind of revealed the ways in which Black people, descendants of Africans in Africa, have already been to the future. We've already been there. In some ways, we are there and here. So when you think of projects like Black Panther, that's one that's really recognizable to a lot of people. That is what we're talking about when we talk about Afrofuturism. Because if you recall, Black Panther is from a place on the continent that they made up, Wakanda. Wakanda does not exist. But I hear the Muslim call to prayer, y'all. Can y'all hear it? I was talking over it. But there we go. Isn't that interesting that several times a day, the people who practice Islam have a mindfulness practice. Several times a day they stop and hold space for prayer. But anyway, Black Panther lives in a place on the continent, and it is a technologically advanced civilization that retains its Afrocentricity, that retains its ancient culture. So In many ways, Afrofuturism asks, how do we do that? How do we, as Black practitioners in all the arts and literatures and spiritualities, how do we do that? How do we walk with our back to the future? But anyway, so good that y'all could join me, and the people who will see this later after I post it, the people who are here live. And I just wanted to share with you briefly what I talked about. There was a call for papers, and I submitted my proposal, and I just wanted to tell you what I talked about. So the central literary figure that people are kind of letting their responses bounce off of is Frantz Fanon. So I'm going to show y'all his picture. Hopefully you can see it. Frantz Fanon. Frantz Fanon, Frantzfanon. So Frantz Fanon was a Martinican Marxist and psychiatrist. So he has a fascinating story. This is a man who came from a colonized place. Martinique was colonized by France, and it's in the Caribbean. And he, was an exceptional Black person. He wound up going to medical school in France and becoming a psychiatrist. And then he went to Algeria, where he began to treat the people who were colonized by France in Algeria. And guess what he discovered? Hey, Jamie, how you doing? I'm going to tell Cherie you said, hey. One of the things he discovered is what was being called psychosis and what was being called neurosis were actually legitimate complaints from people experiencing anti-Arab and anti-African racism, people who were witnessing degradation, who were witnessing genocide, who were witnessing, all of the horrors that come from being an occupied people. And because they wouldn't work or wouldn't serve in the military, they were having visions and dreams and exhibiting signs of, and I wish I had both hands, I would use some big old quotation marks, psychosis and neurosis. They were being sent to Dr. Fanon for treatment. And he began to realize, okay, y'all driving these people crazy. You running them crazy, as we say in Mississippi. They running me crazy. And it was an explosion of consciousness for him. He wrote the book Black Skin, White Masks, kind of parsing the ways in which colonization, race prejudice, oppression create mental illness. They create mental illness, and how his discipline was using its diagnoses as a way to uphold white supremacy. So you think about, you may have heard about the, I can't remember his name, but there was a physician who came up with a disease called drapetomania, DRAPETOMANIA, drapetomania. Sometimes people say drapetomania. And basically, it was the mental illness that enslaved Black people in the U.S. had when they would run away. That was a mental illness. Yes, that was a diagnosed mental. Oh, you don't want your labor stolen in perpetuity? You're crazy. So, Fanon in his side of the world was discovering, and it actually pricked his consciousness, and he spent the rest of his life working with the Algerian resistance in order to help them throw off the yoke of colonization. And like I said, he was a Marxist and just an incredible thinker. Now, let me give y'all some views from the little you can see from my hotel window in Dakar. The sea is over the top of that building, and back there behind the huge, like, I guess those are big trellises, or I don't know what you call those when people are building buildings, but I can see the ocean, the Atlantic, from here. So back to what I was saying. What did I talk about? I'm trying to hold my laptop at the same time, y'all. So what did I talk about? Well, I reread The Wretched of the Earth. So he has two really signature texts. One is called Black Skin, White Masks, and one is called The Wretched of the Earth. So I read The Wretched of the Earth, and one of the things that I found was that Fanon, though he was brilliant, that is undeniable, he was not immune to a kind of cultural elitism that would name African spirituality, quote unquote, occult, quote unquote, pagan, quote unquote, myth, and quote unquote superstition. So once I saw that he did not believe that African spirituality had a place in the decolonization process, I pulled in two incredible shamanic women from the diaspora, from the continent and the diaspora, to kind of talk back to that. So let me show you one. So the first one, her name is Yande Kodu Sene. Yande Kodu Sene. So here in Senegal, the first president to lead the country post-independence, the first independent state, independent of France, his name was Leopold Senghor. He was a poet. He was one of the architects of the Negritude movement, which essentially was Black is beautiful. Black is beautiful in French-speaking, in the French-speaking continent and diaspora. Black is beautiful. I would say Black power, but I actually can't say Black power, because I'll just say it was Black is beautiful. Get into your Blackness, get into your Afrocentricity. So Leopold Senghor used to travel with Yande Kodu Sene. Show her picture again. She was his personal griot. He was from the Serer people in Senegal, and she was from the Serer people. And everywhere the president of this giant country went, he brought his griot to sing praises, to remind people of the ancestors, to call in all of the forces on the African continent to legitimize his presidency, to give him cultural legitimacy. And I'm sure because she was his countrywoman for company. There was nothing sexual going on, y'all, but just the love of somebody from the same place that you're from. And it was a powerful example of Afrofuturism, in that he was moving toward the future, right? He was moving into the new Africa at the time, right? In the 60s, when all the different countries were finishing up getting independence, 50s and 60s. But he brought with him his country. He brought with him his ancestors. And that was through the voice of Yande Kodu Sene. I also brought in a second and final person. Let me pull up their face. And you can see her right here. Her name is Cecile Fatiman. Cecile Fatiman, on August 14th in the 1700s, created a Haitian voodoo ritual so enlivening, with so much charge in it. She called down the Loa, slew the black pig and created a ritual that freed a whole island. So once again, we see someone who is in a spiritual / griot space assisting in revolution, assisting in liberation. And my presentation was talking back to Fanon's resistance to the fact that our ancestral spiritualities have a place in revolution. So it's been great. The most academic part of the conference is done, and now we're going to do things like go to the Museum of African Civilization and go to the sea. And I'm excited. So I might come back live again later. But you guys send me questions. If you have any questions, comments, connections, I'm going to sign off now. And y'all be well. This is Treasure coming to you live from Africa. There are my wonderful co-panelists, Dr. Natasha Kelly and Dr. Tiffany A. Barber. They were fantastic. So good to meet them. We enjoyed wonderful jollof rice. What I was told was the original jollof rice there in Senegal, called Benachin or Tib, and it was fantastic. That's me looking over the city. Listen to the sounds. I do creative writing and African American. It was a pleasure to meet one of the leaders of the Labu people, and also to hear this from the diaspora.
What somebody in the US is doing, taking over museums, archives on slavery and getting rid of them. The kings and queens in Africa decided they wouldn't let that happen. Not only would they not let that happen, there's a rumor that has started that actually slave trade was started and went on from Africans to Africans, so we don't need any reparations. Now, to get rid of that rumor, we had to have this emergency meeting.
It was fascinating to hear from the Swiss parliamentarian of the Pan-African Women's Association, Dr. Brandel, to hear her talk about how the diaspora is responding to the repression and erasure of histories in the U.S. as it pertains to reparations. It was such a pleasure to meet great colleagues like Dr. Matthew Pettaway from the University of South Alabama. You guys should really look him up and check out his work on YouTube. It was also an incredible pleasure to hear from our Senegalese host, particularly Stephen Ibaku Bensane, who is a radio host, producer, composer, and so many other incredible artists who shared with us what is happening on the ground there in Dakar. I got to go to the Museum of Black Civilization, which was a true highlight, really comprehensively and beautifully curated museum.
We have the first exhibition entitled Africa, the Cradle of Humanity. And to understand the evolution of mankind, you have to do from right to left, inside. Okay? Between the walls, we have Africa's contribution to science and technology. And there we have Africa and the invention of iron. And in the other side, we have African cultural continuities across time and space. And there we have the lines of continuity where we have Africans or Afro-descendants who have impacted history. And then after you have the choice to take either the elevator or the stairs to go to the second floor, and there we have 5 contemporary exhibitions. So enjoy the visit.
I met Abu. I was walking trying to find some baggage because when I fly back to the U.S., I'm going to need more luggage. And somehow I got up here to the top floor with all the genius, the sewers, the seamsters, the tailors. And they are amazing. Look at that. My mother tried to teach me how to sew, but I didn't listen. I should have listened.
We want to make pants. This man who make the pants.
Wow.
Yeah, the pants. You see?
It's incredible.
Yes.
There's some beautiful things in here.
Made by here. This is the soap for the fabric, just the fabric.
Wow.
We get tailor here. We bring the fabric like from Mali, from Ghana, from Senegal.
Okay.
And we get also the tailor here. We do everything here.
Does this store have a name?
Mama Africa.
Mama Africa.
Mama
Africa in Senegal, in Dakar, in Mali.
This is the fabric.
Wow.
If you want to make by yourself, we will sell the fabric. We can cut. This one they can buy to 12 yard. 12 yard is like 10 meter. Yeah, you see 12 yard is like
12 yards.
is like 10 meter. With 12 yard, you can
So I ran into this incredible collaborative operation. Like I said, I was outside the hotel. I walked around the corner, and luckily the hotel was really near one of those, classic kind of open air markets. There's a lot of vernacular salesmanship and entrepreneurship. I wound up on the 3rd floor of an incredible building where there was a collaborative of tailors and salesmen, and it was fantastic. Let me stop recording. And then we went back out into Dakar, and he introduced me to artisans who were working outside in their various studios. They recycle the Coca-Cola cans.
yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, recycle.
This is brilliant. Not so much trash, not so much waste.
Yes.
Wow.
It is
It
set.
is.
You have the heart.
That incense smells good. Aha.
Only the recycling.
Very
You can
dapper.
make the man who make this.
Yes. Oh, this is wonderful.
Yes, the artist.
You make these?
Yes.
And what's your name?
Munsatul.
Winsetu?
Abdurrahman.
Abdullah.
Abdullah.
Yes.
Ah, this is fantastic.
This is Carapet Taxi Blues.
Abdullah, this
Yes,
is
this is the
this
car.
is semi.
Senegal
Look the back.
Yes. After those incredible artisans, I headed to the Atlantic Ocean. I could not come to West Africa without touching the Atlantic Ocean. And as fate would have it, a terrible squall moved in, but I powered through it. The trip to Senegal was too short, so I'll leave you all with a slight fashion show of all of the incredible dresses I was able to purchase there. West Africa, I'll be back soon.